Hey there, good evening, everybody. I want to welcome you here to the Prog Monster. Actually, we're going to turn the light on here because it's starting to fade and I didn't realize how much. There we go. Yeah, I noticed as soon as I turned it on, I noticed how much the light had faded since the last hour ago. Anyways, I want to welcome everybody here to the Prog Monster. My name is Murph. I am the host of this show. So this live stream now, I don't know how long we've been doing this. It seems like about 3-4 months now. Is called Into the Progverse. Basically, we're just exploring different aspects of progressive rock, or to a lesser extent, prog music. So some people would say, what's the difference? Well, progressive rock is when every album you make progresses along, adding new instruments and becoming more complex as you go along. King Crimson is probably the poster child for this type of thing, as each album they did had different members and it progressed along to a certain thing, and then Robert Fripp decided it no longer was progressing, so he did away with it. Prog is a little bit different. When I think of prog, I tend to think of music that sounds progressive, but may not necessarily progress the way King Crimson did. A good example of that is probably Eloy, which tends to progress at a certain way all the time. Their music, although progressive in nature, doesn't really progress. It just sounds like prog music, and I think many bands fall into this particular category. So whatever you want to call it, I love it. So I'm going to stick with it, and that is just going to be the way it is. So today we're doing another topic. So we're going to explore a little bit of that neo-prog, or the second wave of progressive rock, if some people like to put these labels on it. This includes a fair number of bands. Some sites list bands that I wouldn't necessarily consider part of that. That progressive neo-prog bands. The problem with them is that the neo-prog bands tend to have a fair bit of synthesizer in them. They also tend to be a little bit on the acolytic side of Genesis, where some of these other ones are different. They, maybe they're neo-prog, maybe they're not. But the ones I'm going to be talking about tonight, or at least the two main ones we're going to talk about tonight, are Marillion, who many consider to be the first of those bands, and IQ. And some of the other bands that I will mention throughout this are Pendragon, Palace, North Star, Solstice, 12th Night, and there might be one or two others that I throw in there as well. Bands that I don't really consider part of that some people will put in there, bands like Porcupine Tree and maybe the Muse and a few bands like that. I don't really consider them part of that second wave. Most of these bands I consider to be part of the third wave. By the time they got into the 90s, different stuff was coming out, and I would say that from the 90s on, they might be considered maybe like the third wave. But this is just my own definition. It doesn't mean that it's the truth or it's exact, or there's other people that don't see that there being any second wave or third wave. It's just prog music. Anyways, I'm not going to spend too much time on the definition of it. I just know that these two bands are among my favorite, and they came out in that time period. So I'm going to talk a little bit about both of them first, and then we'll go through some of their albums, at least the ones I have anyways. So that movement kind of happened. So the original prog movement, which took place in the 70s, kind of started to fade by the mid-70s, and by 1978 was all but pretty much toast. Although some bands did pursue it right up until the 80s, But it was kind of dead at that point. It had been replaced by punk and then new wave. New wave kind of taking the prog people that would have been prog people into their own mesh. Now, not all of them, of course, would have been prog. Some of the punkier new wave stuff wouldn't have been, and maybe some of the dance stuff as well. But there were a fair number of artists in the new wave movement that definitely had that progressive sound to them. So at some point in the early 80s, both of these bands came out with their first albums. I believe that, just looking here at the IQ album, that was their debut. Wanted to see when it debuted in September 15th, 1983. And the Marillion album also debuted in 1983. It doesn't give a month, though, so not sure which one was first. But Marillion, the reason I think Marillion is often considered the kind of the leader of those neo-prog bands is because they were the first one to kind of get that that label put on them. And also they had more success than these other bands. A lot of these other bands had some success later, but not nearly the success Marillion had. And Marillion's first album did fairly well for a prog album, especially at that time period with the new wave of British heavy metal coming on, the almost the end of punk and the new wave moment, but still both going on there. And so kind of moving ahead, and the metal was kind of taking over a bit, but there was an opening there for the progressive rock to come back, or at least the prog rock, if nothing else, to come back into the scene. I've grown to like some of the other bands like Pendragon, who are a bit more symphonic in nature and maybe not as much Genesis sounding, although they did have some as well. 12th Night is another band that I like. North Star, I like them as well. I do have, or did have, a Palace album. I think I had one. Well, I know I have a Pendragon one for sure. I would like to get the Solstice stuff as well. I think their music is quite good. So those to me are the kind of the core, the main core of these bands. But I think IQ may be the best of these bands now. I'm not a huge fan of the more modern Marillion. So for me, Marillion kind of ended with their fourth album, although I do not own the fifth or sixth album, so I'm reserving judgment. I've heard that they're both really good and very similar to the original stuff, and started to change on Brave, which I also own. So so those are my takes on these bands. I'm going to just shut this computer off here. Forgot about it. Just looking some stuff up, so that's out of the way. And so we're just going to talk a little bit about my Marillion collection and about my IQ collection. So obviously the first studio album by Marillion is this one, In the Script of a Jester's Tear. I did like this album quite a bit when it came out. It's just funny how it took me forever to follow it up with any other albums by them. I'm not really sure why that occurred. I thought it was a great album when it first came out. I had this on cassette originally. The two big songs for me, He Knows You Know, and the other one that I liked quite a bit was the Chelsea Monday, although Garden Party, of course, was the other kind of hit on the album. But this whole album is just really solid, not to mention the great artwork here on both sides of it, covering all four of the original Marillion albums, which featured Fish on vocals. Now, Fish has come out and stated and crazy about his vocal performance. He pushed it by trying to sing falsetto the whole time. I don't mind his voice. Some people don't care for it. They prefer Hogarth. Hogarth has a great voice. I'm not going to take that away from him, but I just prefer the music of Marillion during the Fish era. And this is the first one, the script for Jester's Tear. The next one up for Marillion is this one, Fugazi. Some more great artwork here. This album is currently on my playlist and doing quite well. I quite like this album. It surprised me. I didn't think I would get into this as much as I did, but I've come to like it quite a bit. It's a bit heavier than I thought it was going to be as well. It's kind of a quirky looking album, a lot quirkier than their initial album. Got some good stuff on here, including the use of the word Punch and Judy, which was a TV show from the 50s, I believe. So I did like this. She's a Chameleon, another good track. This whole album is pretty strong, but it's still relatively new to me, so I haven't really processed it entirely yet. But I'm thinking it'll do very well. The next album up for them, of course, is their third album, Misplaced Childhood. This is maybe their best album, absolutely brilliant album. Going to absolutely this year will end up being probably their first masterpiece album for me. It's definitely one of the front runners to get that position. Just absolutely killer. Of course, they did have a big hit here with Kylie, and Lavender did well as well. But to me, the songs I like the best are Pseudo Silk Kimono and where is it? Heart of the Lothian. I like both these tracks quite a bit. This is a strong album with a lot of stuff going on. It's not as heavy as its predecessor or as the one that it follows it, but it's still pretty good. The artwork, of course, is good. Misplaced Childhood from Marillion, their third album. Their fourth album, I also own, which is probably their heaviest album, Clutches with Straws. This was great. It initially had a large kind of impact on me when I first heard it. Kind of faded a bit once it got into the playlist, but still did reasonably good. White Russian, Incommunicado, like both of those a lot. Yeah, really strong album with lots of heavy stuff. It's a little bit of a dark album too. You can see the look of these guys, kind of rough looking. I do like this cover quite a bit. I think it's is this also a Mark art, the artwork from Mark? Let me see. Just going to check. I think it is. It's just not as, how do you say, Lord of the Ring-ish looking as some of the others. Just going to look here to see what it says. Yeah, Mark Wilkinson did do the art on this as well. Just a little bit of a different look to it than the other three albums. And a much darker album, I think, and heavier as well. I thought it might end up being my favorite, but it hasn't really got to that point yet. But I still think it's a great album. So this is also the final album with Fish doing vocals on it. He leaves the band after this to pursue a solo career. And we get Steve Hogarth coming in on vocals. So I do not have the next two albums. Their first two albums without Fish. And my first entry point is this one. And I really didn't take very well to it. Just doesn't really do too much for me. I guess it's a decent enough album. I just find it very poppy. And then I got this one a few years ago. So I've had this one actually of these, I think it's been the second longest of them. An Hour Before It's. Yeah, this is Merlin's An Hour Before It's Dark. Sorry, I was thinking out loud. I kind of warmed a bit to it, but I still don't really care much for it. I like the artwork. For the amount of money I paid for it, I was kind of expecting more, and I just didn't have it. It does come with a nice booklet, though. So there it is. I just find they're not really, at this point in their career, they're not really progressive at all. I guess there is some progression to it. I just find them to be a bit of a pop band now. That's what it is. So maybe at some point, once I get the fifth and sixth albums that are more transitionary and carrying the original sound with them, maybe as I transition, it'll change my feeling about them. But as for now, that's where we start. Now we're going to talk a little bit about the IQ discography here, which features their debut album for me, Tales of the Lush Attic. I do like this album, even though it's in this kind of a book form, which I'm not really crazy about, but it's still well written. It's good. It's a little bit different than some of the other IQ albums. It seems to be a little bit more mainstreamish, I guess maybe you want to call it. A little bit more of that Genesis sound here as well. Has Paul Cook, Tim Isu, Michael Holmes, Peter Nichols, and Martin Orford on here as well. So their original group members. Really strong. I think it's a good album. I haven't played it too much, only a few times. I did listen to it once online before I purchased it, but I'm looking forward to it getting into my playlist. The next one out is probably my first IQ album for me, their second studio album. Outer Limits, Wake, Magic Roundabout Corners, Windows Peak, 1,000 Days, and Headlong. This was the album introduced to me first by Ben and got me going. I liked it immediately. And I initially didn't like the vocalist, Peter Nichol, but now I love him. I think he's absolutely great. I don't know what my initial problem was with him, but I did have one. This has the same 5 musicians on it as the debut album. I like the cover better on this one, though. And it's a pretty strong album. This sounds a lot more like what I've come to understand as IQ's sound. First album has that sound too, but just not as much as this one. This one's a good one. I think many people might say this is among their favorites. I certainly like it a lot. It's waiting its turn in my waiting list for the playlist as well. The next one up, I believe, is a few albums later. This is from IQ. This is a double album, Subterranea. I think this could end up being my favorite by them, which is saying a lot because there's an album in here I absolutely love. This is a really good double album, though. I think the first disc is probably a little bit better than the second disc, but it's not hurt. The second disc is good too. Maybe just not as good. Oh shit, I just broke it. Here it is. Anyways, see if I can fix it here, put it back together. I don't like it when they open that way because then they get broken a lot easier than they normally do. So Subterranea, it's heavy, a lot of really good tracks on it. I don't think it's as dark as some of their albums, but it's pretty damn good. 11 tracks on the first one, only 8 on the second disc, 102 minutes. That's pretty long for an album, but it doesn't feel like it with this album. I think it's really good. So it's going to probably end up in my top albums. The next one up is one that was in my playlist for a long time. It didn't do as well as some of the others, but still very strong. The Seventh House. Really good track. Lots of good stuff on here. Only the 6 tracks, but really good. Very IQ sounding. Like, you know right away it's IQ. Great stuff. So on this album performing, you have Phil Cook, Michael Holmes, John Jowett, who replaces Tony O, and John and Peter Nichols and Martin Orford. So there's just the one guy, the bass player, was replaced here. I like John Jowett. This is a great album, I think, too. They don't really have any weak ones of the ones I have. The next one, a little bit later than the rest, very strong album. This is probably my favorite of their albums. It's dark. It may be my favorite album that has come out in this century, period. It's arguable. There are not many that are close to it either. Has a lot of really good stuff on it. All 5 tracks are great. Probably You Never Will and Harvest of Souls, I think, are the two best, but they're not miles ahead of the other stuff. Just a brilliant album. Just everything about it I like. And then this one, which is the newest of the albums for me, which is also waiting its turn in the playlist, which is The Road of Bones. This one has a little bit of that darkness to it as well, similar to Dark Matter. I think I've warmed to this quite a bit after my first listening to it. Yeah, just really strong album. Just trying to see when this one came out. Yeah, it's not going to tell me. They just don't tell you anymore. So this has Paul Cook and Neil Durant now on keyboards. Tim Isu is back on bass here. Michael Holmes on guitar, and then Peter Nichols, of course, on vocals as well. Yeah, this band's been pretty consistent with its members. Not too many changes over the years. I'm not sure when this album came out, though. I wish it would tell me. I'd have to look it up on the computer, and I'm just not going to go there right now. But it's a good, solid album. All of these I've gotten from Laser CD because they're hard to find. Domestically, forget it. I haven't seen a single one ever. So that's my collection of my IQ albums. I've also listened to Dominion, which is their newest album, a few times. And it's probably the front runner for my favorite new album. I'm going to try and order it now that it's been out for a while. Hopefully it's not going to cost me an arm and a leg, but I would like to have it. I think it's a great album. So the two things about this bands that I like is they both have that kind of feeling of Genesis to them. I think Marillion's more the vocalist kind of Fish kind of reminds me of his style is a little bit more like Peter Gabriel. But I think IQ in many ways sounds more like Genesis, at least early on anyways. But they both kind of morphed away from the Genesis sound with Marillion completely going away from their original sound altogether. They don't really sound like a prog band really anymore, whereas IQ is still putting out great stuff that sounds very good, but they have their own kind of sound now. It's not really that. Good evening, Ben. Thanks for showing up. Wow, which album cover do I prefer? Are you talking about the IQ, or are you talking about the Marillion? Or maybe you want both. Well, I can tell you which one I like the best for IQ. Definitely their debut album, Script for Jester's Tear. It's probably my favorite. I know something about it. It was different when it first came out. It's kind of stuck in my claw a bit. So the other albums are not bad though. They don't really have a bad cover, really. Not even the Hogarth era albums are bad. They're all pretty good too. With the IQ, they have most of their albums are pretty strong covers, but I think this one is their best. The Wake, the one that you gave me first time. This is an absolutely killer cover. I like this. I'm not sure what's going on with this person down here. The faces are kind of different, but there's something about that face in the middle kind of reminds me of Quest for Fire, which was a movie I've seen as a kid. Between IQ's debut and Misplaced Childhood? Is that what you're saying? You actually prefer I prefer the Marillion covers over the IQ covers. I just think the artist is better, and this one is a good one. I don't know if it's necessarily my favorite of them. I don't think it is. I think Script is better. I actually think this might be like second or third. Maybe I like Clutches more too. Where with the IQ, it's pretty much this one is easily the best, and I don't think it matches up to them, the Marillion one. This one here, I like the album a lot. Not so much the cover. The cover's a little bit different than some of their other stuff. not really sure what's going on here. And not really sure what's going on here either. There seems to be a lot going on. It doesn't really kind of have any kind of a sequence to it. Unlike this one, which is almost Lord of the Ring-ish in ways, kind of a metal-ish looking cover actually. But they're all decent. Neither of the bands have bad ones. If I had to choose, I do like the Solstice album covers quite a bit as well. Their music I don't like their music as much as IQ's, but I do like it. I think the female vocalist they have is good. I don't tend to be a big fan of female vocalists. Some of them I like. The ones I do like, I like a lot. But generally speaking, I tend to not be as huge a fan on the female vocalists as I am on the male vocalists, at least in the neo-prog range as well. Although the girl who does sing for Solstice is very good. She's quite good. Now I'm only starting to discover Palace and Pendragon. Now the one Palace album that I've listened to a number of times is the one that I had in a couple of the Battle of the Bands, and I did like that quite a bit. With Pendragon, I do own one Pendragon album. It's the first of the ones that I purchased, and it's pretty good, but it's very symphonic prog, I guess, where I don't consider either IQ or Marillion really symphonic prog. I consider them more kind of Genesis-like prog. I mean, some of these other bands have a Genesis sound to them as well. Maybe not as much, but both of these bands, especially this particular album here, there is a lot of Genesis sound here, but it's heavier. It's more synthesizer driven. But there's a couple of tracks on here really reminiscent of some old Genesis stuff. But it's probably the reason why I love this album so much. Of all these albums, I would say, I would have to say these are probably my two favorite from all these albums. But this one is much better album than even this one. Although I like this a lot too. So I think both of these albums will eventually be masterpieces with me, and maybe some of these others as well. But this one definitely is probably arguably my favorite album that's come out this century. There's a couple of albums that aren't progressive in nature that I love almost as much that came out this century. One of them from Uriah Heep. Yeah, that I've heard that quite a bit. It's almost with the Steve Wilson remixes. It's almost become they've almost become like replacements for the originals. And I haven't done enough Steven Wilson replacement albums, or I haven't listened to enough of them to really give a definitive decision on it one way or the other for me. But the main thing about them is that most people say there's stuff there that you just didn't know was there before. And it's not hard to do when you think of some of the stuff that he's done remixes for. It's hard to imagine that the original album even has much of a chance, really, because a lot of those early 70s albums, not all of them don't have the best production. A lot of them are pretty murky and almost thick, I think. Some of them are actually, especially those early, I don't know that he's done any remixes of any. I think he did the Destroyer album for Kiss, but some of those early Kiss albums, like Hotter Than Hell, Hotter Hell is a really murky album, whereas the debut Kiss album is very thin. It's a very thin sounding album. It's just like you get a guitar sound and a drum sound and a bass sound, but you don't really get any kind of background stuff. It just sounds like you can hear all three of them, and you don't really get that kind of clear. Well, they're clear, but you don't really get that. There's no background support at all. They just sound thin to me. Yeah, a lot of people are looking for that Born Again thing. I like the Born Again the way it is, as murky as it is, and it's one of the murkiest of all albums. But the material on that album is fantastic. It's why it gets to be one of my top Sabbath albums strictly because of the material on the album. And I think that Ian Gillan's voice is probably the best. Doesn't sound the best on there, but he sings the best that I've ever heard him sing. So maybe they'll clear it up. And again, I don't think they originally planned it to sound like that. It just something went wrong with the album or something went wrong with the mixing process, and they ended up with that. Because if you look at the previous two Sabbath albums, Heaven and Hell and The Mob Rules, both really well-produced albums. So I think there's just something that just didn't go right there. I'm not sure what it was. Yeah, I've heard that this is going to be something coming soon. Maybe he'll eventually remix just about everything out there, and then we won't have to. Then I'll have to get rid of my entire collection, start again, right? But either way, I like this music. I like the IQ album. I used to originally, when I first heard them, the thing that stuck in my claw was the vocals of Peter Nichol. But after about half a dozen listens, that kind of faded out. Now I actually can't imagine what the IQ would sound without his vocals. I think he's one of the best of those neo-prog band vocalists. Fish is probably one of the worst of those neo-prog vocalists. However, I do like his unique sound. I like and he did most of the writing, so I kind of like that sound. And I think the music that he sang on with Marillion is much more to my liking than some of the later stuff, although I do not have the first two Hogarth albums with them, so it's hard to say. Maybe after I listen to those, my opinion about the other forward Marillion albums, when the sound really changes, might change as well. I don't know. It could happen. But as it is right now, I'm very happy with the 4 Marillion albums. The first 4 are great. I think all 4 of them are great. This one is the one that's currently in my playlist, and much stronger than I thought it was going to be. But I had that same feeling with Clutches as well. It started out, I thought, wow, this is really, really good album. I thought maybe this could end up being my favorite Marillion. And now I'm getting that same kind of feeling with this one, Fugazi, to be honest with you. They're all great, though. All 4 of them are great. I don't get bored of any of them. And it usually ends up going back to the Script for a Jester's Tear, with probably has my 2 favorite Marillion songs, with He Knows You Know and the last track on the front side, on the back side, sorry, forgotten. No, Chelsea Monday. I thought it was the last track, but it's actually the second last. Those 2 tracks I love. Yeah, the artwork on all 4 of those Marillion albums is interconnected. And yeah, I didn't know that it told a story. I guess if you look at it, you could probably see it. But I'm not going to analyze it too much. The last one's really dark. The cover is really dark. And I guess it is the same character on each. What is the... You'll see it here on this album. Not so much on the other albums. But he does... The character, the Jester character, which is on the first Marillion album, and does appear kind of here. I guess it's him. It's him, because you see in the mirror, there's the kind of the Jester character lying on the same bed, but facing a different direction. I assume that the character is supposed to be him. Not so much, I don't think. Oh yeah, he is climbing out the back window here on Misplaced Childhood. And then again, a little bit here beside this character here in the doorway, he got this thing that kind of reminds me a little bit of the Jester. Is it on anywhere else here? No. Doesn't seem to be anywhere else. This is the only one where I don't see a clear-cut Jester on it. So I'm guessing it's supposed to be the character. It's him in all four, yeah. Okay. Is he the Jester in all four? I guess he is, right? It's kind of I've been told, and if maybe if I read through it, I would be able to figure it out as well. That it's a kind of synopsis of his life. If that's what I've been hearing. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm not hearing it right, but that's what it appears to be. That's what makes Marillion, though, so good. It's complex, like progressive rock is supposed to be. The instrumentation on the album is really good. The lyrics are good. His voice is good, and the song, especially with Childhood's Misplaced Childhood. So I was going to say Childhood's End, but we're not talking about Arthur C. Clarke here. Yeah, so Misplaced Childhood, you can see that they're crafting some more sort of poppy songs. Some people have said Marillion really isn't progressive rock. I don't really buy that. I think they are. I think they do have some poppy elements more than you would expect from them, even on their initial albums, and they came turn almost full pop now though. Whereas IQ is different. I think the musicians with IQ, I think, are better than the musicians with Marillion. That's just my opinion. Especially the keyboardist is fantastic. The bass player is good. And I really like Paul Cook a lot. I think he's a fantastic drummer. The other thing about IQ, which is kind of unusual nowadays, is a lot of their members have played on just about all of their albums. They haven't changed their membership too much over the years. Some people have left and come back as well. This is a really strong album. I'm predicting that this may end up being my favorite IQ album at some point. Yeah, it's a little bit long, which is kind of hard on me, but I play it like two albums. So I play the first one day, and then the next day I might play the other one, the back album. Both albums are good. I think the first disc is better than the second disc, but there's nothing wrong with any of these tracks. I just think this is a strong band that over the last 20 years or so have been amongst the best prog bands out there, consistently putting out very strong albums. And the one they just put out now is maybe their strongest of all time. I guess we'll find out because it's only you got to give it some time to see if it works out that way. But I suspect that this album, if I can just find it here, it's probably at the bottom. This album, Dark Matter, this album is almost certainly going to make a masterpiece album for me. I think it's time almost. It's time for masterpieces almost upon me. So I think it might be nominated this year for me. Maybe if not this year, next year for sure. As for Marillion, I can definitely see this one making it. Maybe this year, maybe next year. Same with the script for Jester's Tear. It's got some issues because it was their first album, but the tracks are strong. This is a strong album. I think the album cover is my favorite as well. This one here, I'm not sure about. It could go either way. It might be end up being their weakest, or it could end up being their strongest. I do like the song Incommunicado quite a bit. Really strong song. So, anyways, they're all good. Like all this stuff is good, and some of these other bands, North Star, Pendragon, Palace, 12th Night, Solstice, all good albums, all good stuff. I'm sure there's others too that I'm forgetting, but those are the ones that come to mind readily for this particular era of progressive rock, which I think is distinctive. Some people don't think so. They think it's progressive rock just kind of went on from the 70s, had a little bit of a letdown, then came back, but it's all basically the same stuff. Some people wouldn't even call this progressive. They would just call it prog rock. It's not really progressive. All the progressive stuff's done. It can't go back and do more progressive. You can only do so much. It's already reached its zenith. And all this other stuff is just copycat stuff. There are people like that who believe that. And I'm not going to argue with them. There's a point to what they're making. But the worst point about it is that people tend to, it almost seems like, well, why waste your time listening to it? Because it's good. That's why. That's why we do it. I like that second wave of progressive rock. I like the third and beyond waves too. There's a lot of stuff out now. There's some prog bands out there now, most of them not British or North American, but Scandinavian and Italian and stuff like that that are really quite good as well. And but I tend to like that early 70s stuff the best, and then this neo-prog stuff the next best, and then some of that stuff from specifically Norway with Wobler and the Chronicles of Father Robin. Both of these are actually Turmusk. I can't think of. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that band right. I like that as well. Peter Frozell, he has an album out. He actually has two out, and both of them are on my list to get because I think he's a great musician. Got to have him, and he tends to play that style that I really like quite a bit as well. So, anyways, it was fun to do this. I don't know what possessed me to do them together. I guess I could have done them individually, but to me, when I think of one of these bands, I think of the other. They're easily my two favorite of these neo-prog bands. At some point, I think IQ will end up ahead of them only because Marillion only has really the four that I like, where I'm suspecting that every one of these IQ albums will be amongst my favorites. I'm not sure. There's a couple of albums where I don't think Peter Nicol is singing on, so maybe I won't like them as much. Hard to say. I don't know about Ben Craven. Is it just called Ben Craven, or is he in a band? I don't know. There's a couple of Australian prog bands. The problem with the Australian prog bands is maybe the same problem I have with the US prog bands is a lot of times I don't even think of them as prog. I have difficulty with bands like Kansas. For Kansas is a good example. Journey, the early Journey stuff. Yeah, there's a prog element to their music, but I don't really think of either of these bands as progressive. But even Styx, who I love, I don't think of them as a progressive rock band. To me, they're a hard rock band with some progressive elements, some bluesy elements, different poppy elements, all kinds of different elements to their music. But I think of them primarily as a hard rock band. And that may be because the albums I like the best by them are hard rock. I'm looking forward to the new Styx album too. I'm hoping it will come out this month, but I'm thinking I think there's going to be a slight delay with this album for some reason. I get a feeling like that could be the case. The band said that it would come out in May, but like the guy who I deal with for my record sales, he always says that's always the same with the bands. Always say, "Oh, we're going to be out at this time," but then the producers say, "No, you're not. You're going to be at this time," and that's sometimes the way it is. Yeah, I've heard this argument about Kansas. If Rush is prog, then Kansas is prog. Yeah, I'm not going to argue with you about it. I think of Rush as a prog band. I don't think of Kansas as one. They have prog elements to their music, but I still think of them as a hard rock band. I think primarily with Kansas is that there's two things about them. The first is they have this kind of boogie woogie music in their prog, which doesn't really sit well with me. If it was just boogie woogie on its own, it wouldn't be a problem, but I don't really think of it as prog. And I just never have warmed up to them. I'm not sure what it is. I just find them kind of a bit of a meandering band. They meander a lot. And maybe the other bands I listen to Neander too, but I don't hear it as much. I'm not sure what it is, and it might change at some point. But at this point in time, I just I have a couple of probably the two best Kansas albums, and I almost never listen to them. Every once in a while, I think, well, it's time to give them another chance, and I'll play them both, and then I put them back on the shelf, and hopefully never pick them up again. It's the same with ELP, though. I don't know what it is with ELP. I do like Green Slate a lot, and they have two keyboardists and no guitarist. At least with ELP, they do have a guitarist, even though it's pretty much dominated by Keith Emerson's keyboards. But I don't know, maybe it's just the songs. I just don't care for the songs from either Kansas or ELP. There's a couple of tracks with both bands that I like. But other than that, the rest of the stuff, I don't know. Maybe it'll change, but I'm not holding my breath. There's enough stuff for me to listen to without forcing myself to listen to something. Who the hell is VDGG? I don't even know who that is. I'm not much for, I don't know. I have 3 ELP albums as well. Every once in a while, I throw one on. Same with Kansas. I throw them on, but doesn't do anything for me. Sorry. That's just the way it is. Journey's another band. I kind of like the first album a bit, and then after that, it's just, even though my daughter likes them a lot and played a lot of the greatest hits one that I bought her. I don't even mind the greatest hits album, but Vandergraaf, no, that band has no chance. To me, they're at the bottom of the heap, and their music is probably good, but I can't get past that guy's vocals. If they had a different vocalist, maybe it would be different, but I just can't stand the sound of that guy's voice. It grates on my soul. But yet I liked him with the Amorphous Androgynous album that I bought. I thought he was perfect. They played him perfectly there. They kept him low in the mix and his voice in the background and not screeching high and not going raspy or all that stuff. They just kept him smooth in the background, and it worked perfectly. If Vandergraaf would do that with him, maybe that would change. But I have a couple of Vandergraaf Generator albums, Pawn Hearts being one of them, and I can't even listen to a single song. I got through the album the first time I bought it, played it, and now I won't even take it off the shelf. Yeah, some people say they are brilliant. I'm not going to argue with the Vandergraaf. A lot of people really like Pawn Hearts and some of their other albums quite a bit. And I suspect that musically they're quite talented, but that guy's voice, nope. It's kind of funny because I love Geddy Lee, though. But Geddy Lee's voice, even though it's at a high range, doesn't grate on my soul like Peter Hamill's. I can't handle the guy's vocals, man. I can't even think of another vocalist in rock whose voice grates on me more than that guy. I can't think of anybody. Nobody even comes to mind, really. I don't know who. But I did have a problem with Peter Nicol at first, and then I'm not sure why I had a problem with him, because I don't hear it anymore. So whatever it was, it doesn't bother me. Yeah, Bob Dylan. It's funny, people will say, how can you like Neil Young and hate Bob Dylan? Well, to me, they're not even the same. Like, I love the sound of Neil Young's voice. I don't know what it is. There's something about it that's very musical. Bob Dylan just sounds like a razor blades to me. Yeah, and he's the other guy. He would probably fit. But I don't mind him with the Traveling Wilburys. I think he's okay with that. I just don't like him in his folky stuff on his own. Just doesn't do anything for me. And the funny thing is that I love Janis Joplin's voice, Can anybody be more grating on your soul than that one? Yeah, I think ELO they definitely are heavily influenced by me. I'm not sure what the ELO issue with me is. I don't really dislike them. I only have the one album, and I have listened to it at times. It doesn't bother me. It's just something about their music that doesn't really do much for me. And to be fair to them, I haven't really listened to a huge volume of their discography. That might change at some point. So with them, I'm not really thinking about them. They're a band that were on my list of bands that I never really followed, that I probably should follow. There's a few bands like that. There's a few bands that I followed and then wished I didn't follow too. I was at one point in time, probably 30, maybe 35 years ago. So 30, 35 years ago, I was a big Guns N' Roses fan, and I can't even imagine why that happened. I don't think with Guns N' Roses, it's so much about the music as just I can't stand the individuals in the band anymore. Every time I listen to them, I'm just reminded by stuff. Although I have to admit that I did enjoy when their lead vocalist, whose name is eluding me right now, was with AC/DC for that brief period of time. I thought he did a very good job with them. But I would never want him permanently with AC/DC either. To be honest with you, I've never, after Back in Black, I've never really had much to do with AC/DC in the future. Yeah, their stuff is okay, but it's not like the Bon Scott stuff. Not even close. Axl Rose, yeah, that's the guy I'm thinking of. Yeah, Caravan, that whole album in the land of gray and pink. It only started out, I got hooked with that song Golf Girl because it was kind of quirky and kind of funny, and I liked it. But now the rest of that album is absolutely a treasure. That is one of the classic rock albums out there. Absolutely killer album. Definitely would love to get more of their stuff. Haven't had much success finding anything at this point, but I will continue to look. I just don't want to pay a fortune for these things because Steven's going to remix them all and I'm going to have to buy them all again. So I can only afford them once, right? We got a huge volume of stuff waiting to be viewed this end of this week when we do the new albums purchased. I got, I think, 15 and I think there's a live video. I've been collecting these DVDs lately too. I've got some good ones that I've really, really liked. That Steve Hackett one that I did the review on recently. I have another live Steve Hackett one. This guy is a absolute treasure to watch. And the band he put together is fantastic. These guys are just really good. They sound as good as anything Genesis played as a band. All of them, they can play the stuff and they play it really well. And I enjoy it. I enjoy the Steve Hackett live stuff quite a bit. And I'm not really a live guy. I don't really like the live stuff too much. Yeah, we'll be getting some more. So I've got some, I got quite a bit of stuff. Almost all the stuff I have now is from Encore. I think I may have picked up one album and another place of the albums I've got. And we'll be soon ordering some stuff from Laser CD. There's a couple of stuff that he has that I very much would like to get. Yes, Jeremy, thank you for joining me. Yeah, I like his live. For some reason, I like his live stuff more than his studio stuff, and that's unusual for me. Usually, I almost always like the band's live studio stuff more than their live stuff. The only really kind of anomaly in that is the Kiss Alives and the Who's live stuff, which I prefer over their studio stuff as well, generally speaking. Some bands I think are just have more going on. I am looking for the BTO 40-year anniversary deluxe CD. Can't find it anywhere. Possibly only in Canada release. I haven't actually seen that. I know what you're talking about. I've heard of it. I've seen it on some shows, but I haven't actually seen it. The original Not Fragile album is fantastic. If they can improve on it, great. But that is one of my favorite rock albums. It's heavy. It's got some bluesy stuff in it. I like the kind of different sounding voices between Randy Bachman's more smooth, mainstream kind of voice and Freddie's like gravelly, bassy kind of voice as well. There's a few bands that are like that. I think that's the same with Supertramp. You got one guy who's got a kind of high falsetto voice, and the other guy has a more bluesy voice, and I like both of them too. Triumph's another band like that. You got another guy who's got that near marshmallowy perfect rock voice with Rick Emmett, and then you got the more bluesy oriented but fantastic sound from Gil Moore as well. Yeah, it probably comes with extra songs. A lot of people like that too. I kind of enjoy that with Jethro Tull a lot with most of the more up-to-date versions of their original albums have at least an album's worth of material that was recorded when they did the album. That some of that stuff is even better than the original stuff. The Guess Who is a funny band for me. I like their stuff, their early stuff from 65 to 75. I don't follow anything after that because pretty much everybody of importance was out of the band by then. It's difficult to find their albums though. I always look through when I'm looking through stuff when I'm buying. I always look through the Guess Who stuff, and it's just basically greatest hits, which I already have. I have their couple of greatest hits albums by them, but they have a lot of deep cuts that are really good. Maybe some of their deep cuts are actually better than their radio friendly stuff. But if given a choice between the Guess Who and BTO, it's not really comparable. The Guess Who is a band that's kind of a fringe band that I will listen to, where BTO is in my top 20 bands. And they're actually the very first rock band that I own tracks from and listen to. When I say first rock band, first modern rock band, bands that came out in the 70s and beyond. I did have some Four Seasons stuff, but I kind of consider them a pop band from the 60s, although I do like some of their stuff quite a bit. But of the two bands we did today, I like both of them a lot. I highly recommend them. So if you're out there and you're not sure what neo-prog bands you might want to follow, I highly suggest that you get either this album or something by this band and give them a shot. If you like that old classic Genesis sound, you're going to like this a lot. It's kind of a more up-to-date version of their stuff. Productions are probably better. The musicianship is top-notch. These songs are really good, heavy, but have a bit of a Genesis flair, at least the earlier albums, and this one specifically. But I'm coming to the end of my reign here as my eyes are starting to get very heavy. I was out for 4 hours on the bike today doing some stuff and fixing some stuff. So I'm actually happy to do this show more on a Sunday. It gives me a much more time to prepare it and set it up and talk longer too. Because if I was doing this on a Friday, I'd be by the 20-minute mark, I'd be not remembering what I'm trying to say and all kinds of stuff. Yeah, the Guess Who have some of their early stuff. Well, if you follow them, you will know that some of their stuff ranges from that kind of bluesy through poppy to a little bit heavy stuff as well. And Burton Cummings has a fantastic voice. Even the original vocalist for them wasn't too bad either. Well, if I see that Not Fragile new edition somewhere, I'll let you know for sure. Their 40th anniversary. They've been gone longer than that though, right? I'm trying to think. So they're pretty much were done by 74. Because their first four albums, BTO 1 and 2, and then Not Fragile, and the stuff that was left over from Not Fragile, along with some other songs, they put together their fourth album, which I can't remember right now. Four Wheel Drive, yeah, that's the one. And then the one right after that, Freewheelin', I think it's called. They're all excellent albums, but then they start to disintegrate after that. And the stuff that comes after that is kind of like the Guess Who stuff. It's not that great. It's not bad, but it's not great either. Yeah, some bands like Heart. Heart is a band like that for me too. I love those first 5 albums. But after that live greatest hits album that they put out that collected all the best songs from those first 5, and then added some live stuff to it as well. After that, just a bit of a nosedive. So maybe I'll give one of these bands another chance this week. It won't be Vandergraaf, though. I can guarantee you that those 2 albums are collecting dust on my shelf. I even thought about just trading them in, but you never know. Maybe I'll get a bit tone deaf, and then his vocals won't bother me. I would like to get some more of that, and Amorphous Androgynous. That album is great. I thought at first I didn't like it because Peter Hamill's voice I thought was going to be a problem, and then it wasn't a problem, But I don't think I would want Axl Rose singing with AC/DC anymore. I think they've got pretty much their original band all back together, with the exception of Malcolm Young, at least the Back in Black band. I think Cliff has come back, and Phil Rudd is back there, and Brian Johnson's now fixed his hearing issue and is now back as well. So I'm wondering if they'll go on tour again. They got to be pushing the late 60s, maybe 70s now too. All these bands are pushing it. You're going to see 10 years from now, when we're in our 70s, these guys will be out there rocking in their 80s and 90s. Hey, Grandizer, how are you? Oh, Simon House, rest in peace. Hawkwind, yeah. Oh, he just died, from Hawkwind? Hey, Willis, how are you? Yes, oh, that's sad. I didn't know that. I'm not familiar with him. What stuff was he on? What time period was he in with them? Yeah, I'm rocking in the free world. But it's not so free over here anymore as it once was. And keep on rocking in the welfare state. Hey, Will, welcome to the page. Will's Rush page. Yep. I was thinking about possibly doing a Rush show in the new year. Just like have a show that runs regular during the week where I talk just specifically about Rush stuff. And maybe once I get some guests going on this thing, maybe we'll do a Rush regular weekly thing if I can find somebody that works well with that. No, I'm not jabbing at nobody. This is not a political channel. I mean, I know there are some prog channels on the internet that have taken up the political side of things, but I'm not one of them, and I don't want to go there. You want to talk politics, you go on other channels. Here, we're just music, basically. That's all I want to talk about. Oh yeah, that's great. So so you actually listen to the albums on your channel? Is that what you're saying? Oh, interesting. That's great. I love Rush. They're probably Rush is my favorite band. It's not really actually that close. Um, there isn't much about them I don't like or haven't known about. I've been following them since I was 13. So yeah, great band. Was hoping that maybe well, you got it all here, eh? I don't remember him on Hall of the Mountain Grill because, mind you, I don't read. I haven't read a lot of the band members in those early Hawkwind albums, even because there's so many. They have so many albums and so many members and so many people have played with them that I have just haven't followed them that closely yet. You can only follow stuff so closely. I mean, especially when you're doing 14, 15, 16 videos a week, plus trying to do your baseball too, which I got to get going to do soon because times are running out on me. Take Me to Your Leader. I know that album. So I've been recently collecting more of the Hawkwind stuff too. I think I'm up to about 7 or 8 albums now. But to be honest with you, Caravan is the band I would like to get just about everything from them. Okay, yeah. Okay, now I remember them. Synthesizers and Mellotron. Yes, of course. That's too bad. What was his age? It's a sad state now. A lot of these guys from the early 70s, late 60s that produced some of the very best music in history are now going by the wayside. Unfortunately, at time, I guess it's waiting for us all at the end. I think this is the most people I've had on this station so far. I've been trying to be consistent about putting out the live stream every week, um, mostly because I want to get myself ready for guests and stuff like that. I haven't done anything. I originally had a couple people that I was going to have on the channel, and that didn't kind of go the way I wanted it to. So I decided I would leave it alone for a while until I was a lot better with the music I was listening to. Yeah, most of these guys are in their 70s. I know last year, um, the guy that probably upset me the most was Ron Howden passing away. I'm not even sure if it was last year. It might have been the year before that he passed away, but such a great drummer, fantastic. I loved his style of drumming. Even those first 2 or 3 Nectar albums are absolutely fantastic. Hawkwind, they've got what, like 37 studio albums, including the newest one, which I have, and it's getting ready to go in my playlist because I usually with the new ones, um, well, I haven't actually released it from my new albums purchased video yet, and I did use it for the what's new video that I did a few weeks ago for it, but it still hasn't technically been released from that, and then it'll probably go almost directly into my playlist when it opening comes because it's a pretty solid album, even if it is a little bit on the political side. Well, I'm going to have to check out your live stream and chat there, Will. Um, I will. I'll make an endeavor to check at least one of them out when I get a chance. I've been trying to do more, going on other sites to watch more videos. I still watch a fair amount from Sea of Tranquility, and from the CD Cave. Those are the two I watch the most. And there's some others that I fill in once in a while as well when I get a chance. Really? You're talking about Ron Howden now, or are you still talking about House, Simon House? Simon, okay. So they still haven't up. How long? How long has he been since he passed? Okay, I'll try to show up for that Saturday one. Oh, he just passed a few hours ago. Yeah, sometimes they take a while to get to the site. Oh, you're Canadian. Where in Canada are you from? Oh, Keswick. Okay, that's not bad. I'm over in Kitchener, and who knows how long that's going to happen. I came here basically for my daughter, but she's now gone back to where we came from. Yeah, I'll mark that down here. Actually, I've only moved twice. The other one was kind of a temporary stay at a friend's house while I was trying to decide whether I wanted to come back here or stay down there where I was from. Decided to come back here. So I've actually only lived in two places. But to be honest with you, I've moved 34 times in my life. So I wouldn't call myself a rock solid, live in the same place type person. Okay, so 7 p.m. Saturdays will rush page. I marked it down. Give it a check out this week. I'm on holidays starting next weekend, so I should have time for this stuff. Yeah, since the channel started, I was yeah, we'll look into doing something like that. I'll see if I fit into the bracket. I've been doing a little bit more research into using some of these other things online that I never have a chance to do any research on. So if you want to learn something, you got to do some reading on it, and then you got to get some help with it too. And I just never have any time for it. I barely had time to do what I had to do today. In fact, my list is only half complete. It's already 10 o'clock or 9 o'clock here. Yeah, I think it'll probably work out well. I see that Pete Pardo was on Scott Lade's channel today. I don't think I've seen that before, so it's kind of a first. I thought maybe I got the channels mixed up, but he was on there with his regular crew. I didn't end up. I didn't have time to watch the show. I briefly kind of looked to see what they were talking about. Yeah, he was on there. They were doing their top 10 favorite Black Sabbath songs, which is kind of funny on a prog corner. Yeah, Pete shows are good. The thing about Pete is that he's just actually a walking encyclopedia of information on stuff, and he can remember details about songs and all kinds of stuff. I don't know how he's able to listen to an album once and just grasp everything so well. Yeah, it's kind of funny that he doesn't like AC/DC, but he's okay with Black Sabbath. Seems kind of strange to me. There's a lot of people there who don't really like AC/DC. I'm not sure why. I think it's because, to me, AC/DC is a rock and roll band, one of a few that is still out there playing rock and roll. And to me, rock and roll, when I say rock and roll, I'm talking about bands that have a heavy influence from the 1950s. Yeah, that heavy influence from the 1950s. Bands like Cheap Trick. I don't know if they're still like that, but they were initially. AC/DC, the Rolling Stones, although both the Stones and Cheap Trick, I'm not sure about. I know AC/DC has not changed really. They're a rock and roll band. I used to laugh when people say, "Oh, you like AC/DC? They're a heavy metal band." Well, they're not heavy metal, trust me. Yeah, no, I haven't thought that far ahead yet. I wanted to do this neo prog thing today. I'm um, I'm not sure who I'm going to go through. I've done quite a few bands. I would like to go through my Pink Floyd collection at some point. Um, haven't done much on Floyd for a while, but they were talking about them on some episode I was watching recently about their metal album, which I'd never really warmed up to, but I'm going to give it another try. Yeah, sure. Throw it down. I'll mark her down. Throw her down. I think the Sunday night seems to be a better night to do this too. Better for me, anyways. I'm hoping it's better for everybody. I know that Friday was just absolutely brutal. I was too damn exhausted. Half the stuff that I was talking about, I couldn't remember what I was talking about. You can give me the idea if you want, Ben. Yeah, some people just hate. There's certain bands, I remember Stephen Reed, who I like a lot, and I like his a lot of the stuff he listens to, but he actually hates the Doors, which I can personally understand, but I grew over that at some point. I don't know. So sometimes something can be, and it took me 45 years to get that point with the Doors. I hated them for years, and then I was indifferent to them for a while, and then all of a sudden, bang, I like them. I don't know what happened. Yeah, that's fine. No problem. You can send it to me via the email too, Ben, if you want. I'm going to be shutting down like probably in the next minute or so. I've got this baseball to do, and I'm dragging it into the ninth hour here or the 11th hour. I want to get it done. I lost all my games yesterday, so I want to try and get back on track tonight. Anyways, it was fun. This was one of the best episodes I've done. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I think I'm going to be going to Sarnia for at least 3 or 4 days. I'm trying to plan my retirement here. I can't stay here in Kitchener. It's too bloody expensive. I'd have to continue working full time to stay here, and I don't really want to do that. So I would like to go part time, and so I could spend more time on this channel. I've got a couple of other channel ideas that I want to do too, not just rock music. I have a strong fetish for big band era music as well. It's one of my passions too, but it doesn't really suit on this channel. So I may do a second channel for that. but I'm not going to do that while I'm still working. It's just I'd rather concentrate on this and enjoy this. We're getting close to amortization too, so that should be fun. Approaching 1,000 subs. You're right. Yeah. Never thought I'd get here. Trust me. I did have, well, my daughter and me had the initial fallout a few years ago. She had originally put maybe the first 12 or 13 subs on the channel, and had all of her friends bail on me as soon as she got mad at me. But that happens. So anyways, guys, I'm going to pack it in now. This was a excellent episode. I hope that you like the topics. Yeah, I remember you were one of the first ones. Yep. So I hope you like this first topic on IQ. Sorry, I did grab 2 IQs by there, and Marillion and the old Prog scene. Okay, I'll look into that too. Actually, I'll mark it down. I do kind of like the banjo. I think I initially got hooked on the banjo from Roy Clark when he was on Hee Haw. I'll just mark it down. Big band show. Swing, swing, swing. So I'll look into that. I do like swing music quite a bit. I'm a big fan of the Andrews Sisters. They're probably them, her, Bing Crosby, Ella Fitzgerald, Tommy Dorsey, Kay Kaiser. There's quite a few of them that I like quite a bit. I even like Doris Day, believe it or not, and it's kind of strange, but anyways, I'm going to let you guys go. I appreciate your time and effort to come on the show and have a chat about this stuff, and we will be back next week. I'll probably try to put this in a little bit earlier so that people see it. KDNK, I'll write that down. If I can find my pen now, I think I lost it. KDNK. Keep that in the mind. Okay, I'll keep it in. Yep, so take care, everybody, and have yourself a good evening. We'll be back next Sunday night with another episode of Into the Progverse here on the Prog Monster. So take care and goodbye.